Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today I'm going to be working from a brand new cookbook that I just got, and this was the first recipe my husband wanted me to make in this book. So we are going to be working from Mister Jiu's in Chinatown. It's a relatively new cookbook. I think it was written in 2020, came out in 2020, something like that. So there are references to the whole global situation and things like that in it, but it is a primarily Chinese food cookbook. Maybe Chinese American, some of them. I am by no means a judge of what is authentic with Chinese cuisine and what is not, or what is American Chinese and authentic to that, whatever. But it is made by someone who has a restaurant in San Francisco, and I believe that a lot of the recipes are ones that they use there or things like that. Anyway, but today we're going to be making spicy, crispy peanuts from this book. And I do have to say, finding a lot of these ingredients was a little difficult for me. He told me several weeks ago that he wanted it. I made a special trip to an Asian market that I'd been wanting to go to anyway, so I did that. But still could not find some of the ingredients there, so I ended up ordering some online, and anyway. But we're going to talk about the ingredients first because of that. Peanuts, these are just dry roasted unsalted peanuts. He says roasted but unsalted, so measured out the amount for the recipe here. He says to use neutral oil or unrefined peanut oil. I found a small thing of pure peanut oil at that grocery store. I really should have said what his name is, and let me tell you right now, because I keep saying he, and I'm meaning, the chef who wrote this. It is Brandon Jiu and Tielon Ho, recipes and stories from the birthplace of Chinese American food. So I guess it's Chinese American food. Anyway, it's beautiful pictures in here too, by the way. So we've got the peanuts, we've got the peanut oil. These are dried arbol chili peppers from Mexico. He says like between 8 and 10. I went on the lower side here. I got these from Penzeys, ordered them online, and they were shipped to me. So that's that. These are Chinese Szechuan peppercorns. They have a different sort of heat. It's more of a numbing heat than fiery heat. It's really interesting and provides a different flavor. And we're going to be crushing these in the mortar and pestle in just a second. So this is Korean chili flakes called gochugaru, like gochujang sauce. It's a sort of a sauce that you can use, I believe has this in it. But these are just dry chili flakes from that kind of chili, I believe. This I also had to buy online. I was kind of surprised I couldn't find it in that market, but I didn't go to other markets to look for it. And I certainly couldn't find it in my regular grocery store. We have some sugar. We have some salt, standard ingredients. And then this is something I did find at the Asian market. These are very small, dried whole anchovies. So I bought a bag of these. They were in the refrigerated section, but you can buy them online, and they don't come refrigerated. But I think to keep them longer, it says to keep them in the refrigerator or the freezer. So I stuck my bag in the freezer because I don't know when I'm going to use these again, but I found these at that market. So I think I've talked about all of the ingredients. There's also a little bit of water in it. I haven't measured that out yet. So these are the Szechuan peppercorns. I'm going to put these, I've measured them out. I measured a little bit over what I thought I needed because they're whole, but I'm going to crush them and then measure them again just to see whether I've got enough or not, or I'm probably going to use however much this is, whether it's a little bit over or a little bit under, but it'll be fine. So I'm just going to crush these in my mortar and pestle. He doesn't say how finely crushed, but I guess I'll just decide. I'll probably go for something like the gochugaru texture, some flakes, some small. I'm going to call that good. We have a few big pieces, but a lot of it is sort of powdery. So just out of curiosity, how much did that crush down into? Might be slightly over. It'll be fine. I'm pretty sure my kids aren't going to eat these anyway. So, all right. I think that is it for here. Next, we'll meet you over at the stove because we've got to do some frying with our oil and then a little bit of sort of caramelizing with the peanuts. So, see you in a minute. So the first step here is to fry a few things. So I've got my peanut oil in a small saucepan, medium saucepan, I think he says. He says to use a fry thermometer. I don't have one, but as usual, I've got my infrared thermometer here to gauge the temperature, and it is still coming up to heat. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Usually on my stove, I know about where it needs to be to keep the oil at that temperature. And this is sort of the high end. It won't get too hot, but it'll bring it up to that temperature. We're going for 325, and we're going to try to keep it at 325. The first thing we're going to fry is the chilies. So I've got these ready. Smells like peanut butter right now because it's peanut oil. All right, we're going to be a minute till this is ready. The next thing we're going to fry is the anchovies. You can buy these. I saw these pre-fried in the grocery store, the Asian market where I was. But I went ahead and bought them unfried because that was part of this recipe. So, but if you don't want to do this part, you can buy these pre-fried, at least where I got mine. And I've got this slotted spoon thing to hopefully help get all of these out when they are done frying. I don't think these are either one fry for very long. Yeah, 20 to 30 seconds for both of them. So most of this time is going to be waiting for our oil to come up to temperature. All right, we're right there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in these chilies. And we're supposed to keep them covered with the oil and just fry them for 20 or 30 seconds, making sure we put the oil on them. And we're supposed to put these on sort of one side of a prepared plate with paper towels on it. And now we're going to fry our anchovies. Now we're going to fry our anchovies until they're light golden brown and crispy, about 30 seconds. So I think these are just about done. Hoping that I can get them out without losing too many because the holes are pretty big on this. And so these go on the other side of the prepared plate. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the stove so I don't overcook the rest. There we go. And that's it for frying. So I'm going to put these to the side for a moment and let my oil cool over here. And we'll get to the next step. So the next thing to do, we need to make our spice mixture before we cook the peanuts. We're going to take off our chilies that we fried. We're going to take off the tops and then just crush them into this bowl. There's a little oil on them still, but we want the seeds and everything. That's the best I can do. I'm going to go wash my hands because they're full of this arbol chili. So to this, we're going to add our Szechuan peppercorns, the kosher salt, and the chili flakes, the gochugaru that we measured out. And we're going to mix this all up just to have it ready. These were supposed to be in pieces of 1/3 of an inch or smaller, but I did the best I could and got several bits of spicy things all over my floor, which is going to be great for the dog later. All right, so that mixture is done. Now we're going to put our pan on medium heat. This is a new medium saucepan. We're going to put in our peanuts, our sugar, and I need to get a little bit of water. All right, I've got peanuts, water, and sugar, and that is it. So we're going to cook this for 10 to 12 minutes, stirring occasionally. And he says that the sugar will dissolve and then the whole mixture will go powdery, and that is expected. So that's good to know, because sometimes that happens and it's not what's supposed to happen and I freak out. Only about a minute in, it's getting a little boily at the bottom, so that's good. We are getting real close to the seized and powdery and grainy. Yep, I think we're there after only about 7 minutes. So we're going to turn down the heat to medium-low. And he says another 8-ish minutes. We want these to be sort of caramelized, but blonde, not dark blonde, not black, not dark brown. So you can see what this looks like at this point. It kind of just looks like seized sugar. You're supposed to stir it about every minute, so don't have to constantly stir it. The sugar is supposed to melt again, apparently. We're supposed to be keeping our eye out to make sure it doesn't smoke, though. We should almost be there, but it doesn't look like it's starting to melt yet. But it's not smoking. All right, so we are at 10 minutes past turning the heat down, and it may be starting to melt a little bit in places at the bottom, but it's really, really, really not encouraging right now. The sugar is starting to turn a little bit brown, so I am concerned. I'm hoping it doesn't burn before it melts to coat these peanuts. So we're gonna keep going. Feel like it's browning, caramelizing, but not melting, and that is concerning to me. I think a larger pan would have let more of it be in contact with the pan and maybe melted it a little faster. Also, I probably stirred it too much. See, down here at the bottom, it's definitely melting, but it is also getting past the dark blonde stage. So, fine. Husband says we are using what we got. It was definitely getting too brown. I assume because I was using a pan with not enough surface area on the bottom. So what I did was rinse out the previous pan to get all of the sugar out that was stuck to the sides. Used way too much water, so then I'm boiling it down a little bit. I think I'm going to go a little bit longer because that's still quite a bit of water. And then we're going to add this back into this pan and try to get it cooked pretty quickly so it's a glaze. We just don't want too much water on it because then it'll be sticky. The goal is eventually for it just to be caramelized sugar and not any water, because otherwise it'll be sticky. So I'm just trying to save my peanuts because we don't have enough for a full recipe, I think, left. So I'm going to go ahead and add these back into this, at which point we're going to cook this at medium until I think it's just sugar. Because you can see this is close to a burnt caramel color. It is real close. So it's a little bit more caramelized than he wants it to be. So I'm about to call this done. Had to do some extra magic on it, but I think we'll be okay. They might be a little bit sticky. I don't think they're going to dry all that well. Turn the heat off. We're supposed to take it off the heat. I will as soon as I add this. And we're adding all of our spice mixture. Stirring this in. Whew. Smells spicy. And I've got a prepared baking sheet with parchment paper. You could do a silicone baking mat if you want, but you want to put it out on the baking sheet, spread it out to dry, and then once it's cooled, you can break up any clumps. So I'm going to spread this out as best I can, and we're going to hope that we did an okay job here. You are supposed to serve these with the fried anchovies on top. They're just sort of a garnish. You can keep them separately for up to 2 weeks, and then serve them in airtight containers, and then serve them, whenever you are ready to do so. But we will let you know how we did and what we think of the flavor in just a minute. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make spicy, crispy peanuts from Mister Jiu and Tielon Ho's Mister Jiu's in Chinatown, which is our first recipe that we have made from this book. And I have to say, it lives up to its name. It is pretty spicy, although I probably could have crumbled my fried chilies a bit better to make it a little bit more evenly spicy. But sometimes you got a piece of that and it was very, very spicy. So that was on me. I think some of mine might have not been fried quite enough, so it wasn't quite as crispy, so it didn't crumble quite as well. So I might take a little more effort next time, and I probably will be making these again because my husband did like them quite a lot. I might be taking a little bit more effort next time to crumble them before I mix them with everything else, because then it just kind of got harder to pull out pieces. So that's something I would do different. Another thing I would do different, I did have a bit of a time getting the sugar to caramelize properly, to sort of melt properly. And I think it's because I chose a pan that was too thin, not wide enough. So next time I would choose a pan that's wider, maybe more of a single layer of the ingredients, maybe at max 2 layers of the ingredients, because my sugar was starting to burn without really melting together, because I think the heat was just too uneven on the peanuts and the layers. So I would do that differently. It is kind of difficult to find some of these ingredients. So the dried small anchovies, I definitely had to go to either order online or go to a local Asian market, which I did do. But other than that, everything else I was able to find more locally, or at like I got the Sichuan peppercorns. I had those already from another recipe that I made a while back. But I got those at Penzeys, which there was a store here. It's closed, whatever. So it's a little, and the arbol chilies, I think I had to order those online. So it's a little more difficult to find. Your standard American grocery store may not have all of the ingredients you need for that. You can probably do without the anchovies as a garnish on top, but they were a really nice umami sort of addition to it. A little bit of the briny, ocean, fishy taste to add to the sweet, spicy nuts. I liked it. I'd do it again. But you know, it's something you could leave off if it's not something that you think you would enjoy. Although they're fried, they're crispy, they're pretty good. I enjoyed them. So yeah, if you follow the instructions and use a large saucepan, it might be a little bit easier. So I will definitely be making these again, and I'll let you know if that works better. I had to save mine by sort of adding a little water and then dissolving the sugar again after it had caramelized. It did set up and it was not sticky, so that worked. Thankfully, I didn't have to redo everything. So, you know, it was a little dicey, but it might have been me not following the directions entirely. So, but if you enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.